who is the hardest Resident Evil boss of the iconic ones that I've chosen is the hardest one for someone to cosplay. She's hard, but on like a different level. You can definitely, in my opinion, achieve this cosplay without needing the pro tools like a 3D printer and the space and like all of that crap. That being said, let's get into why this is the most difficult out of all the ones that I chose. I have been cosplaying since 2016, and eventually I would love to do a bunch of Resident Evil cosplays. Currently right now we are doing a Albert Wesker Star Wars one. I wanted to make a list of what I believe to be the easiest to the hardest Resident Evil bosses you can cosplay. We are not going to do all of them because there are so many. But I would like to touch up on some of the most iconic ones and popular ones. So let's just get straight into it. We'll start from easiest to hardest. Okay. Number 1, we have Jack Baker. I believe he is the easiest Resident Evil villain you can cosplay. He pretty much is just clothes. You could thrift all of this. Boots, which most people probably already have these. Tan pants, which most people also probably have this, and honestly the only hard thing that's gonna be finding is his button up, but I'm pretty sure if you just hit the good old thrift stores you'll be able to find this. The hardest part I think of this cosplay, if you're a young person, will be doing his makeup. I think that will be the hardest because a lot of people don't, like, if you're younger. If you're an older man, this will be easy, especially if you're bald. Bald! Bald! But if you're not, I think the hardest part is going to be makeup, because if you're not experienced with makeup, you're gonna have to figure out how to do this insane hairline with a bald cap. Glasses will be so easy to find, and then of course the beard, if you're unable to grow one yourself. So I think this is the easiest Resident Evil villain you can cosplay. I've seen some amazing ones I would love to shout out on TikTok where they did I think I always forget the woman's name, but the wife. And she's definitely not easy. I wouldn't say she's an easy one to do, but I would say Jack is very easy. I've seen people do props because I can imagine sometimes doing an easy cosplay like this can be a little boring if you're an experienced cosplayer. So what I tend to do a lot if I have a really simple cosplay is I use a prop to then I have a little bit more of something to make. And I've seen people make his shovel that he carries around. So Number 1 is Jack Baker. Number 2 is Albert Wesker Resident Evil 5 version. There is a reason why it is specifically this version, because I do believe the Stars Wesker, as someone who is making it, is a little bit more complicated than this one. The reason why I'm picking the 5th version of him is because literally everything here you can buy pre-made. If you want to make this yourself, I can definitely see this being a difficult cosplay, but there's options of just buying it as is, which makes things so much more easier, and nowadays cheaper. I feel like nowadays it's cheaper to buy a cosplay already made than making it, which is crazy because it used to not be like that. You can buy this whole outfit, and the glasses honestly might be hard to find because his glasses are so specific, but a lot of cosplayers don't think too deeply about that. They just pick a normal pair of sunglasses and it's fine. The wig, honestly, your trouble parts isn't going to be this entire outfit. It's going to be the headpiece. It's going to be finding a good pair of glasses, and it's going to be figuring out how you want this wig to look, because when it comes to wigs that are pulled back and you have to see your hairline, it's really easy to make it not look good, and it ends up kind of ruining the whole cosplay. In my opinion, finding a good wig is going to be a little difficult, but you have options. It's not like it's impossible to find. It just depends on how much money you want to spend. Albert Wesker Resident Evil 5 is number 2. Number 3 is Lady... I need to learn how to say her last name correctly.
It is not Dimitrescu, but rather Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu, whatever, Lady D. This might be a little bit of this might be a little controversial for me to say, but I do think if you're just doing like a normal version, if you're not trying to make yourself tall, but honestly, even if you are trying to make yourself tall, I don't see this being that difficult. Depends on how tall you want to be. I have some tips on that, but I do think Lady D is number 3. Literally the main 3, Lady D and the sisters, the 3 sisters too, are really easy to either make or get, because since Resident Evil, what was this, 8? Yeah, since Resident Evil 8 was so popular, it's so easy to find these costumes just pre-made too. I think if you wanted to make this cosplay by hand, I could see it being a little bit difficult, but if you just want to buy the costume, same with her daughters, you can literally find the entire cosplays just out there, wig and everything. You can find the dress, the wig, all accessories, tattoos. You don't even have to do the makeup, guys. It is all there just for you to buy already made. So yeah, I do believe that this is a really easy cosplay to do, in my opinion. Literally, I think the hardest, here's where your trouble parts are gonna be at. It's gonna be obviously the face paint. Some people maybe don't even need to do this because they're pale enough, but if you really want to be low accurate, I can see the face paint being an annoying part to have to do. This is why this is number 3, just because of the makeup. And then if you want to be tall, you can, I've seen people use, what are they called, stilts, I think, and if you're not trained on how to do those, my personal tip would be just wearing really big platforms. I believe there are 6-inch platforms out there, or 7-inch platforms. It might take some practicing to get used to those, but I mean, it helps you be a little bit taller. So, but truly, it's not that deep. It's just a cosplay. But if you're like crazy and you want to be super accurate, then yeah, that's gonna be your hardest part of this cosplay, is just the tall part of it. But yeah, I do believe this is an easy cosplay. Keeping on theme with Resident Evil 8, for some reason I always mix up 8 and 9. It's like both of those games are just one to me. I mean, they basically are, right? But keeping on theme with that, we are going to also consider these ones easy. Ignore the middle guy. He does not necessarily count on here. I forgot his name. Ignore this guy. Here. Okay. These two are very easy cosplays. With Heisenberg, I feel like you can also thrift pretty much everything for him. I would love to do a Heisenberg cosplay, by the way. So eventually, I believe I will. Same with, oh my god, I forgot her name. Same with Donna. The hardest part with the Heisenberg cosplay is going to be his giant hammer thing. But other than that, literally everything else you can thrift. As for her, same thing. I feel like the props are going to be the hardest parts when it comes to the lords, right? There are so many tutorials though on how to make this doll. So you can do it. And I also don't even really think that this is that hard of a prop to make, because it's kind of already, it's pieces that you kind of just put together, and it's not like foam. If you do this using just pieces rather than making it out of foam, that will be so easy. For some reason, for me personally, making foam props it's difficult when you don't have the materials to do it or the room. But no, I feel like this one is easy. And also, if you're lucky, I could see you being able to thrift her outfit. I can. Just depends on how much you're willing to try to look for it. As far as her head, you would just need the veil, because obviously she doesn't always look like this in the game. A lot of people who cosplay her, they wear her veil. But yeah, I think the lords are number 4 on the list. I think that they are very easy to cosplay. Minus whatever his name is, the fish guy. He does not count in this. Okay, now, you might think this would be an easy one. You might. So I'm putting this one at 5. We're getting in like the middle tiers a little bit. I think that you're going to need a little bit of cosplay experience to actually do these ones. And you might be surprised that this one is a little bit higher on the list, and let me tell you the reason why. It is not the outfit. I personally think doing this makeup and the contacts are going to be the hardest part of this cosplay. There might be like a mask you can buy that is pre-made and you can just put on. I think I've seen people do that when they cosplay him. But if that's not something in your budget, because I bet you those are expensive, if that's not something in your budget, doing this makeup, you're going to need experience to do this. So you cannot be a beginner cosplayer, I believe, and trying to do this cosplay. However, the outfit, though, I will say is very easy to cosplay. Once again, you might be able to thrift. It depends on where you live, because personally where I live, where it rains every single day, it is so hard for me to find a good trench coat. But maybe where you guys live, you might be able to get some luck thrifting pretty much all of this. I think the hardest part too, this is another reason why I think this cosplay is a little hard to achieve, is this part, this like weird collar thing. You might have to make that yourself. I would say this is number 5 on the list, and you will need some experience to be able to cosplay this one. I'm going to assume some of you guys are a lot better at cosplaying than you might be, okay? Just keeping it on theme with the tyrants, right? I think Nemesis is a tyrant, or is Nemesis just a nemesis? Yes, he counts as a tyrant. Okay. You're gonna have a little bit of trouble with this one. If you are motivated to do this cosplay though, I don't think it's gonna be that hard. Hear me out, hear me out. Just like Mr. X, the hardest part of this cosplay is going to be the face. The reason why this one is at number 6 is because the other ones I have a little bit ahead are a lot harder, trust me, okay? So I think obviously the hardest part of this cosplay is going to be the face. Now, like I said, I'm almost certain that there are like a full-on mask that you can buy and just put on, but that's going to be expensive. So you could do this with makeup. I do believe in you. You could do this with makeup. The messed up nose is going to be a little bit hard to do with makeup. I don't think you'll be able to do that. But I think if you have the skills, if you're skilled with makeup, you could definitely make your face look like this on the mouth part if you're able to draw it. So like I said, if you're motivated enough to do this cosplay, I think even with only a little bit of experience, you might be able to do it. Depends on how good you are with makeup. Because the outfit is fairly simple to 1, make, or 2, even put together with tape, much like what he has going on, putting little caution stickers on. As someone who isn't very skilled with making clothing, I have made a pyramid head cosplay. I have 100% DIY'd a pyramid head cosplay before, and I've made a skirt similar to this and like an outfit similar to this with literally no experience making clothing, and it's really easy to just make a skirt. So I do believe this is an outfit you can make with very little experience. I think the hardest part too, like another issue you're gonna have, is not only the makeup, but this piece here is gonna be hard. I have literally no idea how someone could achieve making this. Obviously you would use foam. I feel like if you're motivated enough, you could do this. Like, I feel like I could do this. And I'm like pretty moderate with my cosplay, so that's why he's at number 6. Do you understand why Nemesis was number 6? Because now we're gonna get into the hard ones. We are now at the stage where you're going to need a lot of experience to do this. Not only are you going to need experience with just cosplaying and how to do it, you're also going to need experience with a lot of DIY stuff like foam making, blueprinting. You might even need like a 3D printer. Like, we're getting in like the pro stuff, the pro cosplayers, okay? Do not attempt unless you're a pro. I don't even think I couldn't do this. That being said though, so William Birkin, we're putting him at number 7. I believe that's what we're on. I would honestly love to do a William Birkin cosplay. The only thing I'm worried about cosplaying him is I feel like no one would know who I am, because he just looks like a normal dude, other than like, I guess if you have his umbrella name tag, he's a little bit easier to understand who he is. But I love William Birkin, let me just say. He's one of my favorite characters. Yeah, so normal form, easy peasy. Things get difficult if you want to achieve this. If you want to do a mutated version of him. This just seems absolutely insane to have to put together. The arm and everything. I'm sure it's really fun to put together, but I can't even comprehend like how you would do this other than foam. But even like having to attach it to your face, doing the makeup is a little bit difficult. Figuring out how to make this too where it's not super heavy, because a lot of it too, you don't want it to be a pain to have to walk in. So that too, yeah, I think that's honestly the hard part. Also, it looks like his chest is out, so you're gonna have to figure out having to bind and find a way to hide your chest. But yeah, that this is number 7. Okay, let me just say it is so hard to find good quality photos of Code Veronica. Hopefully we won't have to deal with that when the remake comes out. Starting at number 8. So Alexia? Every time I say her name, I think about when Wesker said her name. But yes, so her normal form, fairly easy. Still a little difficult though. I wouldn't put her at easy, I would put her at moderate when it comes to her normal form, just because making this dress seems like it's going to be a pain. You probably cannot find anything similar to this just out at the thrift store. I mean, finding the shoes and the gloves are easy, same with the wig and everything else, but this dress I feel like you would have to make yourself. So we're already a little bit difficult with that, but you gotta be at some other kind of level of cosplay to be able to achieve this. Let me tell you. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I can't imagine how to do this with, especially as a woman. Not only the confidence that you would need, but I don't think the wig would be difficult. I could see someone making like a tight, I don't know what they're called, but like they could make like a tight, you know, the material made from tights. I could see them making a suit with that, and making it like covering your whole body, so obviously the stuff isn't hanging out. You could airbrush the veins and stuff, so I can see that. I could see how you could do that. These pieces here though, the arm, like the glove, and then the leg piece, I think you would need a 3D printer to do this, honestly. I'm not sure if I've ever seen anyone cosplay Alexia, a mutated version of her. I've definitely never seen anyone attempt to do with the 2nd to 3rd phase of her. This one, yeah, that would be insane. 2, even harder than this, because you would need to deal with making wings and doing that. I mean, someone out there can do it. I know someone out there can do this for sure. You just obviously would have to have legs, but for this you would need not only crazy experience, confidence, you would also need the proper tools to make this, and just having the tools alone to be able to even make this already is super expensive and just not achievable. Good luck with anyone out there wishing to do an Alexia cosplay. I 100% recommend just doing her normal version. Who is the hardest Resident Evil boss of the iconic ones that I've chosen? Is the hardest one for someone to cosplay? Let me know who you guys think. Let me know in the comments before I share mine, because I bet you mine will surprise a lot of you. Number 9. I wish I picked 10 for you guys, but I literally only had 9 in my head. So, I'm sorry. But number 9, Mother Miranda. She is the hardest out of the 9 that I have chosen to cosplay. Which is kind of crazy, because I've always wanted to do a Mother Miranda cosplay, and I can definitely see myself doing it, because she's hard but on like a different level. You can definitely, in my opinion, achieve this cosplay without needing the pro tools like a 3D printer and the space and like all of that crap. That being said, let's get into why this is the most difficult out of all the ones that I chose. Every piece from this cosplay you're going to have to make. Now, I'm not sure if there's pre-made cosplays for her. That would be awesome if there is, because she's just such a cool character. She's actually another one of my favorite characters. I have a lot of favorites, but she's just like from this series, like from Resident Evil Village. I do really like her. She's yeah, she's got to be my favorite character in Village. So making this is going to be a pain, but I think you could definitely do it if you're motivated enough to do it. I've seen some amazing Mother Miranda cosplays out there. I'm sure you've seen like the Mother Miranda cosplay if you haven't, but you like I said, the materials isn't gonna be your hard part. It's just gonna be putting it all together, making the robe and stuff. I'm not sure there's tutorials on how to do it, but you could find a tutorial on how to make like a robe and then just use that for Mother Miranda. Same with this. I'm not really sure what this is called. I'm just gonna call it a scarf, but I know that's not what it is really. Oh my god, now that I'm looking at this is actually really hard. Same with this, I don't even know how you would make this. Honestly, I really don't, unless you sewed it yourself. God, I don't know. And then same with, because all of this is embroidery, I think that's the word. Like even with this, I mean, you can maybe paint this on. Maybe that's how you could do the scarf too, is just using paint. It wouldn't look as nice, but I mean, it would get the job done. The black robe part of this is easy. Same with like the making the shoulders. As long as you have experience with sewing or even have a sewing machine, you could totally do this. Now, this piece, I feel like this is very hard to do. It would be easier if you have a 3D printer, but not everyone has one, so I do think having to make this with foam would be so annoying and difficult to do. The top piece is easy. In my opinion, this is actually pretty easy to make. The crown. Out of everything here, I think the crown's fairly easy because you could probably make this with cardboard, honestly. If you're not someone who likes using foam like me, I personally hate using foam. It's so annoying. You could make this with cardboard and I think it would be pretty easy. You just cut out the cardboard pieces, glue it together, paint it gold. Same with the eye and stuff like that. And then for these, like, you can just get fake little roses and glue it on. So I feel like the crown is easy. Figuring out how to get the crown to fit on your head on like a headband, that might be your hard part when it comes to making the crown. But other than that, I think the crown's actually pretty easy to make in my opinion. Now, she just has so many accessories, and I think this is why, and that's why I'm saying this is the hardest one you could cosplay, because it's not necessarily hard in the same sense that Alexia and William's hard, because as long as you are capable of crafting with foam, those are pretty easy cosplays if you have the experience. But when it comes to this one, even with experience, it's still hard because there's just so many pieces you have to keep in mind, like the nails, and then not only that, but the rings. Putting all of this together, making it so it doesn't literally break your back when you have to put it on. I mean, how many sets of rings is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 rings? Jesus, yeah. So figuring out how to get 10 rings on your back with the crown, that's gonna be the hardest part of this cosplay, is figuring out how to put all these pieces together without it like breaking your back. And not only that, but I'm not sure I've ever seen anyone attempt this, but it would be awesome. And yes, I understand it'd be super difficult to do, but it would be awesome if someone could figure out how to cosplay her mutated like the mutated form of her. Because you could still repurpose some of the stuff you use in a way, like the crown is still there, but then you would have to, oh my, I just can't imagine how you would put all of this on your back. I can't even comprehend how to do that, but I know someone out there has the skills to do it. You'd have to figure out how to do this. You could make this with foam, and if you're skilled with foam, I could see this being easy, the foam part. Same with this. I've seen people who can 3D print masks that completely cover their eyes, and it's easy as long as you know how to do it. The makeup is easy, in my opinion. This part, though, I'm not even sure how you could manage to do that. I think the easiest part of this cosplay is going to be the skirt, because you could just use foam for like these pieces on the bottom. The hands, I guess you would use like a mesh torso piece and then you make it all into like a glove like this too, if that makes any sense. So like your entire top would be a full mesh suit with makeup airbrushed on top of it, and then you would have the fingers as gloves, obviously, because no one's fingers are actually that long. And then the rings, so it looks like you actually have less rings to deal with though, which is nice, but you would have to piece every part of these wings together. And I don't see that being hard, actually. I really don't. So it just depends on like where your skills are when it comes to this cosplay, because I think that making these wings, you could do it with paper, like painted paper, and then foam for like these pieces. So it depends on what you're good at. That was my list on the most popular Resident Evil villains that you could cosplay, and I ranked them from easiest to hardest. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. If there is a boss that I missed, because obviously there were just so many, I would love to chat to you about how difficult that would be. This channel is dedicated to all things Resident Evil and a little bit of cosplay, especially Resident Evil cosplay. Right now I have a series where I am making a Stars Albert Wesker cosplay, so if you would love to see me go through that journey, I give you all the tips, all the links, all the references, literally everything you need to make that cosplay. It's all on my channel. Come subscribe. Let us not forget that soon the sun will set on the Age of Man, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.